The following may contain language which will be offensive to some people and inappropriate for children. Still here? Then pour your favorite beverage and let's get this fucking show started.
Fantastic Forum. Assemble. You're watching Fantastic Forum, the premier show about comic books and your live weekly conversation about entertainment and geek culture. We are the Fantastic Forum, coming to you live and direct from the Hall of F. Hope you're having a wonderful morning, afternoon, evening, or night, as the case may be, depending on where you are in the world. And if you're not, you should stick with us. We'll help you take it up a notch. You have the usual suspects in the building. First, he is our intrepid senior reporter. He's next in line for the cowl. He is our resident Dark Knight detective. It's Oz. Oh, you're muted still. You're muted still. No one can hear you. We can see the F, though.
Yeah, that's what I think of you.
Indeed.
I'm wearing merch, although this is from the old store.
Yeah. It's nice, though.
It's the same logo. I don't think it matters.
Oh, it matters when you see the different printings you get.
Okay. Next, he is a riddle inside of an enigma trapped in Chinese finger cuffs. You don't know him. You love him anyway. He's our silent assassin, Jay.
Hey, what's up?
Jay, we got to get you something for that wall, man. You look like you're AI. Like I'm not even sure if you're real. I'm like, could be, my friend. That could be a cardboard cutout. I don't know. Just really high quality printing.
Oh, now there's two flies in here.
Oh, they're mating.
Oh, Lord. Next, he is the backbone, the pillar, the strength of Fantastic Forum, our nigh invulnerable brawler and resident strongman, Moses Magnum.
What's up? I'm wearing merch.
Indeed.
Not our merch.
Oh, whose merch are you wearing?
Doesn't matter.
Competitor.
It's that other comic book show. That other comic book show merch.
We took down Heavy Metal Minute. Don't think we won't come after whoever else's merches you're wearing. Haven't seen Heavy Metal Minute in what? A minute?
Oh, jeez. The messed up part is I feel like he's been waiting to say that for a little while. I'm glad we just had to leave it there. You're right. Let's let that.
I screwed up a joke yesterday. I'm not risking it again.
And as for myself, my name is Lawrence Young. They call me Mayor Young. Welcome to Fantastic Forum. We got a great show for you today. Continuing in the friggin' spirit of the season, we are going to be talking to you all about Hellraiser, the new Hellraiser movie. Yeah. And we're going to be talking to you all about Stuff of Nightmares, the comic from R.L. Stine. So we got that going as well. And of course, whatever else it is that you all want to talk about. And we'll tell you how it is you can do that in just a moment. But before we do that, we want to make sure that we thank Mr. Scott Rubin, because without him, this whole show would not have been possible. So how you doing, Scott? Hope you're doing well, good sir. With that said, let's go ahead and tell you how you can get down with Fantastic Forum.
Want to get in on the action? Call Fantastic Forum on Skype and join the fun. Too shy to call in? That's okay. You can join the Discord chat room available at
FantasticForum.live.
Join the party. You know you want to.
I agree. I know I want to. Anyway, thank you, intern. Appreciate you. Yeah. Why are you shaking your head, Mo? What happened?
Because you don't learn. You're not allowed to address the intern. We went through this with HR already.
I was just thanking her. I didn't.
Well, guess what? Thank sounds too close to spank. So you can't say that.
Got it.
Play it safe. You have a bad track record already.
Everybody knows this about me. Like all the Mae Young sex scandals.
They call
Yeah.
You
him
should know
Cosby.
Herschel Walker.
Right. Anyway. So we're gonna go ahead and if you have your comments in the chat, make sure you go ahead and put them in, because we'll take your comments directly out of chat and bring them into the show. Such as Jay, why don't you insert a witty chat comment here, friend?
Tiger Claw says, "What's up, Fantastic Forum? What y'all think of that She-Hulk finale? It was so meta that I loved it."
She-Hulk finale did in fact happen this past week. Y'all have
Or
any
the
thoughts?
She-Hulk, the She-Hulk finally.
Is that how you felt about it, Oz?
Yeah, I bet you thought that was a typo. Nope, that was on purpose.
Look, are you're happy the season is done?
Yeah, and that finale, like, it was weird because it was the writers admitting that they're shitty at their job, but thinking they were doing it in a clever way, so not really admitting that they're shitty at their job. Like, look, set aside comic book continuity for a minute, because we
Never.
know in this case, that's a whole another topic that we've talked since episode 1. They can't even follow their own continuity in this show. You know,
What continuity did they not follow?
Well, the first episode, Bruce has that thing that makes him be Bruce and not Hulk. It gets broken, and She-Hulk's like, well, why don't you just give me one of those? It's like, well, especially calibrated for me, I can't just make you one. And then he goes off into space. He's gone. And then, like, an episode later, well, look, we got one for Abomination. He can wear one. We found one. And a couple episodes after that, She-Hulk now has her own. Like, where are these? We established that he can't make more, and when he's gone, they make more for other people.
Oh, he
But
can't make
that's
his.
not-
Like, they have
No,
to
but that's
get your
not-
blood to make yours.
But he couldn't make one for Jen, and they made 2 more while Bruce Banner is in space. He's not even on the planet anymore.
That's Damage Control doing it, not him.
Yeah,
He's
it's
the
two
one that
different
made 'em.
things, isn't it?
Did Damage Control make the first one? Because
No.
I thought he
But
made
he
it.
was. Well, Damage Control is a Tony Stark company, and he probably was working on it with Tony Stark.
And then, dude
When-
slept with her. How did he get her blood?
While she was sleeping, he injected her.
Yeah, when she wasn't She-Hulk.
They didn't show that.
There they did. Not
They didn't.
the actual doing, but they showed the syringe.
No, they didn't show the syringe. They showed the giant ass syringe that they were going to use when she was She-Hulk. That they showed, but he never actually like pulled it out and used it. I mean, he injected something else in her, but it wasn't, with a needle.
Well, look, they didn't show that either.
Because
But
you don't read
Yes,
comics. You don't know Syringe Dick Man.
oh, jeez. I'm just saying, the same way you can apply one, you
I
can
would
apply the
totally
other.
subscribe to Syringe Stick Man.
Oh, jeez.
But
Jay, what? Oh, go ahead. Go ahead.
But that would be wrong to say, because the man she slept with was Asian. So you're wrong.
Wow. Wow. I was just like, let me take this offense to another level.
Yeah, and then it's just that, that whole it's one thing to break the fourth wall. I understand that She-Hulk is a character who's actually like yelled at her writers before,
And artists.
but then the whole conversation with Kevin, and when they come back, everything is resolved magically. Like, you just cut back to it's resolved. It just feels like the writers couldn't write a good resolution, so it's just everything's magically fixed. And if that was supposed to be a joke, it's a bad one.
Okay.
Like,
Look,
I get the point with before she breaks that wall, where it's like Bruce shows up and there's a fight and it starts getting like kind of I get it. Okay, that there was a lot going on out of nowhere. Titania showing up, all that was fine, and her stopping that and all that. But then they don't really resolve anything. It's just everything's back to normal in a couple scenes later with no explanation. No, nothing. And then they bring in Scar, who looks like a beaten puppy.
Well, he's She-Hulk.
He might be.
He's She-Hulk? What?
Yeah.
Okay. We'll have you explain that in a minute.
And as
let
a
me go
hair
to-
professional, I hope Mo was offended by that too.
Yeah.
Jay, how'd you feel about the finale?
For the most part, I liked it a lot. It was fun.
What's the part that you didn't like? Wait, because you say for the most part, so I believe you liked the majority of it, but
I wasn't 100% down with Kevin.
Kevin's too much.
A little bit, yeah. Kevin's a little bit too much.
Okay.
But other than that, I liked it.
Okay. And what'd you like about it the most?
What did I like about it the most?
If you need a moment, I could come back to you.
No, I guess the sequence where she is like actually going through the menu was pretty cool.
Yeah, that was super meta.
Right.
Like it's like literally the Disney Plus menu.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
But I had to check I had to rewind for a second to make sure I was still watching.
Didn't look anything like my Disney
That's
Plus
funny.
menu.
It's the Marvel section. You just don't go there.
Like I said, it didn't look like my menu.
There was like jokey stuff in there too, I think. Like some of those titles weren't real shit, and it was, yeah. That's why it didn't look like Oz's menu.
So all my shit is real shit. On the real.
Yeah. Right, sure. No. Moses, how'd you feel about the finale?
I loved it. Aside from Scar, but yeah. Everything else, like it just like that even like the jumping out, like when that moment happened when it was the Disney Plus menu, Emily was like, "Oh, what I do?" And like, no, just wait for it, and then she starts because I read that issue where she's like, I got to get across town before the bomb explodes, and she just jumps from one panel to the other. Like
right.
Jumps,
you're actually a reader of She-Hulk comics. Imagine that.
Or like when she goes to Stan Lee's
one
office,
of the 15.
Like, what the fuck are you doing with this comic? And like, it literally has them change the story, and then the comic's different from the next page. So there's that. My favorite is always when she's fighting the Frogmen, and she goes to John Byrne, like, Byrne, Frogmen, really? Like, you're gonna draw just a bunch of shit that just looks the same, So it like that. Even Kevin felt. To me, Kevin was great because that's fucking. It's been my gripe for a lot of like the first, like when Doctor Strange came out, like I felt it was too formulaic to Iron Man, and so that like to me, the Marvel was definitely doing that. But I mean, comics do that too. But this is a chance to do something a little different while still feeling. So the fact that they use Kevin as a joke about how they make these movies, and then when you look at all the shows that they did after Endgame, like they're all different. They're all weird. Even Multiverse of Madness and everything. Loki. So it's like it's a good little commentary that we're all thinking, if not saying, and they got in on it before we could make fun of them.
Right. What's Tiger Claw saying, Jay?
Tiger Claw says, I love some of the stuff she was addressing, such as how some of the characters have daddy issues.
Yeah.
That's what, yeah.
He also says, when Kevin shows up, he was giving me GLaDOS vibes.
I can see that. I can definitely see that. Yeah, man.
And I was thinking Kevin from Final Space.
I need to watch more Final Space so I can understand that reference.
That was his name, right?
Yeah.
But I personally, indeed.
Elaborate, Jay.
No, don't elaborate, Jay. Please don't.
Look, be
Look,
faster.
later.
Be faster.
Later.
More
So right. So I know personally, like I did like the finale myself. I thought it was definitely very meta, you know. And on top of that, like I know for me, like I kind of had I guess my feelings on what was happening in the show, like was very much in line with the commentary that She-Hulk was having afterward. Because I'm just sitting here like, what is happening? Like, why are all these people showing up? You know, like it felt like my thoughts and her thoughts were very much in line, and so I was like, okay, good. Like we're gonna change this because this is kind of ridiculous, you know. And don't get me wrong, I can definitely understand and I can relate to some of the criticisms in regards to the fact that they basically did kind of resolve everything off screen, but I feel like the meta aspects of it kind of make up for it. Like my take on it was kind of the opposite of yours, Oz, in the sense that like I did feel like it was clever and it was definitely like commentary. Like it was basically like it was like the entire all of She-Hulk, in my opinion, like the She-Hulk series very much understood where the fan base was at, and much to their chagrin, you know what I'm saying? Like, or not, well, I won't say the fan base, but where a subset of MCU fans are. That's what I should say. A vocal minority, maybe. And I think that was like a part of, like, I mean, the fact that the whole plot, like the whole through line was basically about like trolls.
Yeah, her biggest
bad guy.
Her biggest foe. That's where the whole thing kind of felt like not a waste of a show, but it's a cop out in a sense, because the biggest villain was fucking the Meninists. You know,
the what?
The Meninists.
What are the Meninists? What is that?
That's like feminists but men.
Oh, I did not know that. I don't think that's a thing. Is that a thing? Meninists?
You maybe. Forgot.
Yeah,
but
I forgot that. Meninist?
I think they forgot too. I think they just got turned into QAnon.
Is it? I mean, there's a such.
They got split between QAnon and incels.
Oh, okay.
Like, but there's a such thing as like men's rights activists, right? Like, isn't that what they were called?
Some groups, yeah.
The Meninists aren't as sensible, right, Jay? Am I wrong in saying that?
Yeah, they're more about being angry at women for wanting things to be more level. But the men's rights activists were actually talking about real men's issues, like the fact that our suicide rate is so high and that crimes we commit, that women commit, women will get less jail time than a man that commits the same crime, like stuff like that.
Oh, okay. I did not know that there was a. I don't remember. I did not remember there was a Meninist. But okay, got you. But but that's the thing. Like, I don't feel like that's a waste, really, though, because at the same time, it's not like they were just like, oh, it's just dudes. You know, like there was a whole like plot, like there was a group, intelligentsia, and they turned out to be like internet trolls / like Meninists, if that's what we're gonna say. But like it wasn't like it was like there was no plot there.
Well, here's the thing.
Despite what some people feel, I guess.
Depends what you want out of your Hulk. And that's kind of what this season kind of showed more so than anything. And is that basically like they're not. I want to see Hulk fucking shit up.
I hear you.
Fucking a big motherfucker up, another monster up. And then I also want to see She-Hulk fuck shit up and do her thing. She didn't fuck anybody up enough for me. You know?
I can feel.
And that's the thing. Like when your big villain, this whole season is a bunch of meninists. Like, it's kind of like maybe one more episode where like maybe I'll take another Titania fight. Like this one actually put her into the concrete, like in the comic. I'll take that.
See, and that was the thing for me where I was not a fan of the take on Titania.
I wasn't either, but at least it's a fight.
Yeah, and here's what I'll say is I was shocked by how central a role Abomination played throughout the series.
That's not his name. It's handsome ass Abomination.
But look, and he is very handsome for an Abomination. I will give you that. What I'm saying is, I'm not saying that.
I don't know what I am.
Huh?
If he's Abomination, I don't know what the fuck I am. I got close figures myself.
But I'm not saying that I disliked what they did with Abomination because I didn't. Like I thought it was interesting. I just thought it was odd to me that we got so much Abomination throughout the series and so little Titania, which might be a blessing because if what I'm getting is influencer Titania, I don't know that I want more of that. Or honestly, or any of it, which is unfortunate because it's like, the actress, like I like her and I feel like she could potentially give a decent Titania performance. She's definitely not the person I would have cast, but I would have been open to the idea of it if she was doing Titania stuff. But this Titania is like she didn't ever get to Titania level as far as I'm concerned. What's Tiger Claw talking about, Jay?
Tiger Claw says, what did you think of, what are your thoughts on She-Hulk having a relationship with Daredevil?
What are your thoughts on that, Jay?
I liked it. Like, I thought it was pretty dope.
Word. How'd you feel about it, Oz?
The Walk of Shame scene bugged me, but I get it. It's a joke. Other than that, no, it's fine.
What about it bugged you?
Yeah, it's just like why he didn't even put on socks and shoes. When that's what, and I get the joke, so I'm not gonna be too critical. It's just like, oh, come on.
Okay.
Like when women do it, it's because they're wearing fucking uncomfortable shoes. Like they'll take it off that night,
That's all part of the joke, though.
I know. That's what I'm saying. It's a joke, fine, whatever. I just thought it was like.
Well, and realistically, if he would have done the Walk of Shame in full costume, it doesn't look like it doesn't look funny. It doesn't look like he left the bedroom. It's like, oh, he's on his way to fight somebody. Let's follow his story. If he's in full costume.
It's just an odd picture, but it's a joke. I'm sure it landed with a lot of people, just not me. But whatever. The relationship, it's fine. They two superheroes that banged around for a little bit. As long as when we get to Reborn, he hooks back up with Elektra. I don't care.
Okay.
Yeah.
Look, do you I'll ask this question after, but Mo, how'd you feel about the relationship?
I liked it. I hated that it went so well. Like, the chemistry was too good. If they don't get married, I'm gonna be mad now. And it's like, that's not the topic. So,
but he's married to Elektra in the comics. No, like they got fisted and everything.
Hey,
whoa!
What I'm saying, Oz, is I liked it. I didn't like how good the chemistry was. This is an exaggeration of, again, maybe this is a shoeless Walk of Shame thing for you. You don't get it. They're not gonna. I'm not saying they need to get married. I'm saying with that chemistry, they should.
Yeah, man.
It worked too well. It worked too well is what I'm. It worked too well is what I'm saying, Oz.
I agree 100%.
I enjoyed it too much is what I'm saying, Oz.
the chemistry between the two actors was phenomenal, and it's like I could literally just watch the two of them banter back and forth. Like, it doesn't even need to be superheroes stuff. Like, I liked watching friggin' Matt and Jen. You know what I'm saying? and I liked it a little too much, because I was just like, man, like, if this was like the show, like if the show was, if it was almost like a moonlighting will they won't they between these two people, I'd probably watch that joint every week.
I would watch a She-Hulk Daredevil romantic comedy.
Yeah, absolutely. Like, I was feeling it. Like, and I love the court scenes. The court stuff was amazing for me, and I was like, I wish there was a little bit more of that. But I get why there wasn't. Like, that's not what the show is. But what I'm saying is, I'd watch that show.
That would have been a complaint, not just from men in this and trolls. The complaint would have been like, "There's no superhero in it. You got two superheroes in it, not two superhero shit."
Like, I want to see them.
It'd be a fair criticism of that episode if it's not, you know.
I want to see them like get in a fight, and she'd be like, "You're pissing me off. You don't want to see me when I'm angry." He's like, "I can't see you."
Wait, that's very funny, Oz. Damn,
I'm a better writer than
very funny. Damn it. And wait, but here's the funny part though, is
Not
like,
as good as the what you call it.
The what, Jay?
That page Mo put into our Discord. Where,
it's not as funny as the page in the Discord.
Yeah, because it's like it's Spider-Man, Punisher, and Daredevil, and Peter's like, "Look, Daredevil, it's a tentacle," and Punisher's like, "Yeah, look, Daredevil," and Daredevil's like, "Peter, why don't you show it to your uncle?" And Punisher, "You can show it to your family."
Now, just for reference, Jay, how long ago was that in our Discord?
Like, that was like when it first started.
So how long ago?
Like,
I don't know.
I think it might have been into our pre-production text during COVID.
So I'm wasting time scrolling through the Discord.
Yeah.
It's like a year ago, Jay, like a year and a half ago. Like how Mo, I know you probably know. Like, how long ago was it, Mo?
Look, it feels like 2 years, but it's 2 years. So that's why I think it's our pre-production text.
That's hilarious. Like, it very well.
It could have been something that while I was crowdfunding on Chronic, I saw it came across and put without thinking about it. Yeah,
it might be the beginning of our Discord, but the beginning of our Discord, I feel like, is at least a year ago, right?
Yeah, that's what I mean, judging by the number of members in it, yeah, it's got to be at least a year.
That's hilarious by the number of members. Right, at least a year. Look, but anyway, but okay. Look, we can talk more about the She-Hulk series and the finale
of Scar.
Okay, go ahead.
I hated Scar.
Oh, yeah, Scar's bad.
Like, that's, I mean, yeah, he's the She-Hulk. Like,
is Scar's
transitioning.
Oh, go ahead.
He looks like he's transitioning. Yeah.
Wait, is Scar? Wait, and you know, forgive me because you know I read Planet Hulk.
Yeah.
And I'm familiar with Scar, but I by no means am I a huge Scar fan. You know, it's just like Scar's fine. I'm not knocking Scar. I'm just saying that I'm not the dude that's like, yeah, Scar. You know what I'm saying? So with that said, when Scar first came on the scene, did he have that haircut?
No.
What are they doing with this? Like half shaved in the front, and that's it. Like, what's that about?
That is a trend among young Latinos. Young Latinos are now having the same identity crisis as white teens in the 80s. So they're now like going to their roots a little more hardcore, and they're doing these weird things. So they're getting the mullets like the old like Hispanic music band, but they're still their fresh little like Spock taper cut with the hard line in the front. So they do that here, and then their little mullet in the back, and they call themselves tacuaches. and they call it the
They call him what?
Tiny
Taquache.
little.
Taquaches. What's that mean?
that means
Joe, we need a bigger picture.
is like a possum.
Yeah, hold on.
Like that's what they call it. Because I assume because they're out all night,
Taquaches means a posse?
possum.
A possum.
Yeah, so I think it's because they're out all night hanging out, but I don't know.
Yeah, I almost like
So
threw,
if you
I almost
Google,
threw
like-
hands at a barber because he was like starting to do that line in
Yeah.
front, like whoa, yeah, I'm not,
And the weird thing is, like, they'll shave, like, if they don't have, if you can't get a clear, like in my case, you can't get a clear line unless you push it back a little. So what they'll do is they'll just push all their hair forward and then make a line. So it's like the Rock Lee haircut in the front, and fucking Dog the Bounty Hunter in the back.
Broccoli in the front, dog down, bounty hunter in the back. Wow.
Yeah, and that's
Yeah.
how that shit looks. And
There you go. Thank you, Jay.
oh, and then that's a whole other, like, that's a weird way of doing it because that's like the Tom Poe thing from fucking from Kickboxer.
I was like really like baffled by this just because I was like, why is that happening? And understand, like, here's what I'll say is, like, to the point where I was like, why did this happen? And the answer that I've found is Feige. Like, Feige decided, like, well, let's put it like this.
I keep telling you,
what-
Larry, I keep telling you, fucking Feige.
What I'll say is this is the folks at the She-Hulk staff wanted to have, like, the writers, they wanted to have a cameo at the end of the series, and they already knew that that's what they wanted to do, but they were like, oh, like, they're in the writing phase, and they're like, this is before production or any of that stuff, right? We want a cameo, but the cameo is dependent upon who they can get. And I guess from their perspective, they're like, we want an MCU cameo from, like, somebody, people be like, oh my God, it's such and such, like, probably like an Avenger, right? But it's all dependent on scheduling and all that kind of stuff. And in the writing phase, they can't do that
Mm-hmm.
because they don't know when the show is produced. They can't schedule it because the show isn't in production yet, and they don't know who's available and who's not available. So they don't know who they want in that spot. And because of that and all that, not confusion, but all of that variability,
Mm-hmm.
at a particular point, Kevin Feige made a decision, and he was like, it's going to be Scar. And this is what we got. And yeah, I'm just like, I'm not saying Scar's a bad choice.
I am.
I'd say that Scar is trash.
It looks trash.
Let's start-
I mean, he could act. He could probably act it depending on the story. I mean, it is a CGI construct. This is not a real person.
Yeah. No, but it doesn't even, like, it makes it, like, at the end of the day, when you get to this point in the series, you're like, it feels like a weird tag on. Like, why? Like, why are we doing this?
It's
Like, and it's not like you're gonna have, like, an Incredible Hulk movie next to connect to this.
Yeah.
So where are we gonna get Scar's story? And it's like the sad fact of the matter is there's some people that are speculating that Scar might potentially be a stand-in for Hulkling in a Young Avengers, which would be like,
That's retarded too. I mean, slow adult.
oh, that has a whole nother level of problems to it. What was Tiger Claw talking about, Jay?
Oh, he was saying if they do a season 2, perhaps it should do more of the court stuff and have She-Hulk defending one superhero a week or something like that.
See, I was thinking
Great.
something different for the, like, if you want to do cameos like that, because I know we got like Porcupine, yeah, live action Porcupine, but it's like she could literally like maybe twice a season just get out of bed in the morning, and it's like D-Man just sleeping, yeah, or Star Fox, yeah,
In
and
her house?
in her bed, yeah, like she just slept with him, and
Why?
that's only
Gotcha.
that's the only cameo you get, yeah.
I like the idea. Like Terry Claw's idea is actually something I would like to see. Like, not that every episode needs to be like superhero court stuff every episode, but I would like to see more of that and with cameos, which this season gave us a little bit of that. So I'm not knocking it. Like I enjoyed that stuff. But so did anybody like Scar or no? Jay, do you like Scar?
I have no opinion on Scar.
You have no opinion? Okay, so that I'm gonna chalk that up to dislike. Like no opinion is almost worse than disliking it.
He didn't do anything bearing an opinion, really.
I think I've seen one comic with Scar in it, and I don't even remember what he did. Like I have literally almost no experience with Scar outside of the scene.
Neither do the people at MCU.
So it's
right.
like, yeah, there's nothing there for me to.
Got you, Mo. You're the biggest Hulk fan of the four of us.
I mean, I'm not. I wouldn't even. I mean, of the four, maybe, but yeah,
definitely.
Or what's your question? I didn't even let you finish.
I'm like, well, how four of us definitely. My question to you is: are there a legion of Scar fans out there? Like, I know that I'm sure the character has some fan base, but is it like, are there people that were chomping at the bit for Scar to be in the MCU? Like, is that a contingent of people from your perspective?
When the D23 stuff came out and they're saying the movie like Planet Hulk or World War Hulk, one of those was like a tease thing. I don't even know if it was real because it's so easy to Photoshop that as an announcement. And it's like, yeah, like maybe you want to see Scar, but here it's like, I get what they're doing. They're doing the Planet Hulk because they couldn't do Planet Hulk because they did it in Ragnarok or whatever. They did that the bulk of that in Ragnarok. And then that's what this backdoor pilot or whatever or tease is in She-Hulk is that he went back to Sakaar to topple the Grandmaster's whole fucking shit there, and then he becomes the ruler with the queen and has Scar or whatever. And because if you look at like,
so you feel like
the problem with that is that story ends with the beginning of World War Hulk.
Well, the thing is, MCU has done a really good thing, or not a really good thing. They done a really good job at this concept, the pussification of Hulk. So anything like they neuter the Hulk, and they even how he went back to Scar to do whatever he did. I have assumptions, and I kind of told you guys why I have those, but he basically just went back and did his thing. But it's not like it's not Gladiator or Braveheart like Planet Hulk is, and it's
I think he just picked up the kid and came back.
That's exactly what happened.
Well, if you watch the little one shot with Grandmaster, like he exiled from Sakaar. He lost his place there, and he lost his kingdom, and he wants to take over Earth next. Mm-hmm. So he's stranded on Earth, and so that I think that in connection to this, it paints a rather weird picture for like what a Planet Hulk MCU story would be, and it just makes sense that it's like toppling a tyrannical government. The only one that can is the Hulk, and now he bangs the queen, which they never had a queen. So
you feel like
Grandmaster was the queen.
Look, that's where Scar comes from, right? Scar comes from that.
And look, if he's a grandmaster's butt baby, it explains that look.
Hilarious. But no, wait. So you feel like Hulk had a whole adventure as far as like you had a condensed version of Planet Hulk that happened when he went to Sakaar this time.
Yeah.
So you don't feel like Scar might be a product of his time before Ragnarok?
Oh, maybe it could be before Ragnarok. Maybe it can. What I can tell you is like if you read comics, like he came for World War Hulk, and
No,
then
I'm not disagreeing.
A year later, you had his son come after him because he abandoned him there, thinking that
Right.
And literally he was in utero when Hulk left, but he was dead, or Hulk thought he was dead, and then Scar was raised on his own on a desolate planet, and somehow he knew how to Earth to fuck up.
Yeah. No, I feel that, and I've read Planet Hulk, so I feel where you're coming from. I guess from my perspective, I'm just like, no, like this is obviously some stuff that happened before the events of Ragnarok.
Yeah. No, and technically the kid could have been born, but it just like, why would he have to go back? Like maybe to stop his son from busting shit up, or
No.
Like,
he doesn't. It's more like he just finds out.
His kid was out there drinking underage, and
Look,
the cops called him, and he had to go pick him up.
And that's the thing. Like, what is the reason he's going? And then, like, the show did two things. It highlighted an urgency to the point that they tried to destroy him and his cousin.
Destroy who?
With the ship, the Sakaran ship came and they crashed. They shot at the car, right? So
yeah,
they're trying to get him or destroy him or whatever, and then he goes with him and he looks happy going, and then the next time you see him, he's got a kid.
Mm-hmm.
So like maybe the kid was born whatever. Like you said, I'm saying from what I've read in the comics and what I can potentially expect is that there's a time dilation thing that happens when he goes to Sakaar and come back. And because that's literally like a month after World War Hulk, Scar comes out, and it's like he's already like 21, so it's and it seemed like they traveled pretty fast to Earth through that little wormhole thing with the Worldbound or Warbound,
right?
So
okay. Hey, yeah, look.
Now,
obviously,
the answer to your question was like, does Sakaar need to be? No, but with what they're trying to do or everything with this Hulk, like it just seems this is the place to put it, and with that tongue in cheekiness.
I guess I don't know. Like I honestly do feel like it's a bad choice from Kevin Feige, which he doesn't do that often, but when he does, he does.
No, he does it a lot. You just don't acknowledge it until now.
And look, I don't have a problem with a lot of the choices he makes. So there's some, like obviously Kevin Feige decided, this version of Guardians works.
Oh boy,
that's a problem I have too. But which is a whole franchise.
They did that with in Love and Thunder because they were supposed to give you a movie with Thor. And
no, listen. No, nobody here disliked Love and Thunder more than me.
And I'm
just saying, you're bringing it up like it like I was the main one that's like, this movie is not good.
No, I'm just saying, I'm telling you how they do these condensed stories and just show you little bits and pieces of it. So Thor Love and Thunder gave you a little piece, just like She-Hulk. This is modus operandi.
Listen, we all know that MCU condenses storylines. Like, trust me, me. I'm an Infinity Gauntlet person. Like, that's my jam. You all know how big of a Thanos fan I am. That's a condensed version of Infinity Gauntlet, and it just turned out that the way they did it was actually pretty good. It's not as good as the comic, But for a movie, it's like, okay, I'll take it. But I agree with you. Love and Thunder, not as good. Planet of Hope, not as good. So it's just like, I mean, and keeping in mind that, Planet of Hulk is about constraints from legal stuff. Like, if they could make Hulk movies, I think it'd be different.
But why? Like, that's the thing. Like, why, if you have that much of a constraint where you can't do something right,
then why do it?
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I feel you. And I agree with you. Like, if I was Kevin Feige, there would be no Scar. That I would not even done. I probably wouldn't have done Planet Hulk mixed with Thor for Ragnarok. But that would have been a mistake because Ragnarok was a great movie, right?
What I can tell you is, I haven't called him Kevin Feige for like a year and a half, and now I'm ready to do it again.
Okay, that's fair. Jay, what's Big Man talking about?
He asked, did anyone else find the pacing of Love and Thunder with the jokes and the kidnapped kids and dealing with cancer? So find it weird? Anyone find the pacing weird?
I think we all thought the pacing was a little off in that movie.
Yeah, I mean, yeah. Look, that's great interpretation, Jay, because he sure didn't put weird in there, but you're right. I'm pretty sure that's what he meant. But no. We all like. I don't. Did anybody here like Jay? You're the only one that was really like, Love and Thunder is cool, right?
Mm-hmm.
No.
Yeah.
The fuck?
Mo loved it.
Oh, what? I mean, okay. I'm sorry. You're right. Mo was like, oh yeah, but Mo did only watch it recently and was in the whole camp of it's Korg telling the story, so it's okay. Which that might as well be like QAnon. That's like some old conspiracy theory.
That's Journey into Mystery. Like that feels like an issue of Journey into Mystery.
Or, as some would say,
like you can't say no.
Huh?
You can't say no.
Well, I mean, I think it depends on what volume of Journey into Mystery you're talking about.
Right. Again, yeah. I'm not saying, there's no caveat, but Journey into Mystery is Journey into Mystery. That still has legacy number.
No, I mean, listen, I'll give you that. It didn't work for me as a movie. I'm sorry. It worked for Jay and it worked for Mo. Us folks in the red shirts apparently were like, nah, which I don't know what that means.
Dude,
but
don't call me a red shirt because that has some negative connotation.
I'm wearing a red shirt too. It's okay.
That don't make it better.
If we die, we die.
We're talking horror stuff tonight, or supposed to be, and you're a black man wearing a red shirt. Like,
hey, that's what happens. Look, you said that like they're black people on Star Trek. It's not true. No, only recently. No. Anyway, but you're right. We should mess around and start getting to the topics at hand here, because Lord knows, jeez, man, we got these horror things to talk about.
Poor LaForge just in his grave.
Anybody got any last things they want to say about She-Hulk or whatchamacallit before we go? No. Good. All right. Let's talk about Hellraiser. Shahab, done.
Also,
no, more about gel coat.
When the fourth round will...
Don't you call it?
does it look good already? Jumbo Scampi for limited.
It's funny because I was like, why is he playing the TV joint? But I guess Hellraiser 2022 is a TV movie, huh?
The scary one's right under the TV one.
No, but Jay's making commentary. Jay's like, it's not a movie.
I can't tell if he's frozen. Is Jay frozen?
No, he's not frozen. It's just a cardboard cutout.
Yeah, his brain
is really well done, though.
No, his brain's like, well, if you act like you meant to do commentary, they'll just go with it. But there's a scary movie review right there.
I didn't know we had a budget for such a great looking cutout.
Hey man, what can I tell you? Fantastic Four's on the come up in 2022, baby. Look at it. Look at the highlights.
Scary
comic book
review.
Scary
comic book
like
Review.
well, not like that, but like
I'm not gonna lie, I really do like that.
Buy some merch so we can have more cutouts.
Yeah, buy more merch so I can get a cutout so I can like eat and watch the show like y'all do. Look, I can get a cutout that actually talks sometimes.
Speaking of watching the show, I did watch last week's show.
You
The
were
next day.
Weren't you on the show last week?
I dipped and y'all went on for like 40 minutes.
Oh well, yeah, man.
Me.
You didn't even say goodbye, you son of a bitch.
Well, that's what I'm saying. I'm saying I watched the show, the part that I wasn't on, and man, I am like I could be a pretty scatterbrained sometimes, and so I'm used to being like the main source of misinformation on the show. But hearing you guys talk about Tales from the Crypt, man, I feel so much better about myself.
How dare you?
You should feel better about yourself if you'd have been on to correct us.
I'll have you know Wikipedia was on my screen the whole time.
Instead,
what did we say
about a bunch of comments in the? I left a bunch of comments.
Oh, I don't read those.
What did Jay say in the comments? Jay's like, these Fantastic Forum guys, man, they need to do better.
Well, you guys said that Creep Show came out before Tales from the Crypt. But the Tales from the Crypt actually had a movie before the current ones.
In 1973, right?
72.
72. But that wasn't branded. That wasn't branded Tales from the Crypt till it came out on video in like the 80s.
Okay.
Is that true? I don't even know. I don't even know. What was it called? What was it called in 72?
It's like was it Blood Feast or some shit like that?
The one I have says Tales from the Crypt.
Right. Because you have it now. But when you watch it,
damn it.
Like
Moses with his freaking crazy memory.
When it was in the theaters, when it came out, it wasn't branded Tales from the Crypt. And even now, they call it like unofficially Tales from the Crypt. Officially. Like it's made by the people, but they didn't call it that.
Okay.
But I get what you're saying. Like, yeah, I mean, technically, it's the same format and everything. But, But yeah, I mean, you should have been on. We could have had this conversation last week.
This feels like quadruple misinformation. I don't know who's right and who's wrong. I don't know.
It was honestly more fun listening to you guys than being on.
Well, listen, Jay, the main takeaway is when you're going to just dip out, say goodbye to the people at least. You don't have to talk to us, but talk to the people.
Did you ever
the main thing is, I think that story with the astronaut, the main thing, I know Mo was talking about that story with the astronaut that got a bunch of the white people up in arms. I know one thing he didn't mention was the plot of that story, which is super relevant to like why white people were so mad.
Which is,
I thought we talked about the plot.
No, you just talked about the astronaut being black.
The twist, yeah, because that was my point then. But tell us about the plot.
So he's basically going to a planet to see if they're like evolved enough to like join the Space Federation or whatever. Mm-hmm. And it's the people are split into two people, blue people and yellow people, and they're at war with each other. And so he decides that no, they're not advanced enough to join us yet. And then he takes off the helmet and he's a black man.
Okay. Oh, okay. Oh, now I understand. Okay. I'm sorry, white people. You have every right to be mad at that story.
Why would you say that?
No, I mean, I get the context. Like the story is great. If what I said like left that out, then go read it. But it's not like the context of the story that you added is the story. But I don't see how me not giving you that left like made my little thing less valid or whatever. Like why do we need why did I need to give the context of the story?
I didn't say it made you less valid.
No, I'm asking like why was that missing from last week's episode? I guess.
Why was the context of the story?
Yeah.
You're saying the context of the story doesn't add anything, is what you're saying?
I mean, not today. It would have added if you would have done it when we were talking about it.
I'm not sure that's how time works.
Okay, listen.
It is when you have to leave at the tight 2.
I'm gonna shut this down so we can still have Jay a part of the reviews that we have left for today before he just magically disappears again without saying anything. So let's go and talk about Hellraiser. And look, Mo, I'm gonna bring it to you. Why don't you tell the people what Hellraiser 2022 is all about?
In the new woke world, you have to have demons that are punishing people. And Hellraiser does that with like sadomasochism and stuff. And they had to reboot it for the new generation. And we have this movie.
Look, now I will say that, you all know me. I'm not a friggin' horror movie person. And so I don't really have obviously I know that Hellraiser is a franchise, and I know I've seen Pinhead,
Mm-hmm.
but and I know that it's about interdimensional beings, kinda, and that's pretty much my working knowledge of Hellraiser because I've never really watched a full movie. So tell me about the differences between Hellraiser 2022 and say the original Hellraiser and why you make the comment you just made, because I don't know, and I'm assuming that there might be other people in our audience that don't know.
In this movie is basically the story of a girl in recovery, and she gets an opportunity to make some cash in boosting this. They're trying to manipulate her into spoilers to finishing the configuration for Leviathan in the puzzle box that Hellraiser is trademarkly known for. And so she has a hard life. She can't afford where she lives. Her brother's taking care of her. And through her bad decisions, she ends up with this puzzle box. And they're bad decisions and their consequences. And, in Hellraiser, technically, she should suffer. Yeah. And she does suffer. I mean, if you watch the movie, she does suffer, but it's not the endless soul burning sear of the Cenobites. But, it kicks off with a rich guy trying to get it done. And eventually he's manipulating people to do it for him so he doesn't have to make the sacrifice. And that's this story. In the first one, it was literally like the scumbag found it and he was a piece of shit and he did it, and then you just watch him suffer. So it's like the Cenobites, like Hellraiser and Chatterbox.
In the original, it just opens and closes, right? It doesn't have all these different things.
Look, that's a whole other technical thing. Like that's closer to what the book is like than that first movie was. So that I'm not.
What's closer to what the book is like?
The actual
this
puzzle,
movie or
the little cube, the way they do the little cube where it has different configurations. And all you see ever essentially in the movies is the lament configuration. So they call the cube that, the puzzle itself that. So, but in
they
the
call
first
it the lament, or they call it the cube?
Lament.
The lament configuration.
Okay, I don't know. Yeah,
that's the puzzle. That's the puzzle.
Did you watch the movie?
I watched the new movie. I didn't watch the original movie.
Oh, the new movie had like 7 or 8 different configurations.
Right.
So all the movies you've seen just deal with lament configuration.
And I don't know that because I haven't watched it. That's why I'm asking. I don't know.
So the first one, the dude solves it, and then he opens the portal, and a bunch of hooks come, and they make him live skinless for a little bit and suffer.
Wait. So the first movie is literally just one guy getting tortured the whole movie?
Yeah, and they show his family, his family dynamic and who he is, like the type of person he is, and they're trying to take the girl too, but she's like pure of heart, and she's not. She's more his victim than.
When you say the girl, you're talking about like his girlfriend,
his like stepdaughter.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I don't know what you mean, so I'm asking the question. So his stepdaughter, why are they trying to take his stepdaughter?
Virgin blood, whatever the fuck. They're here to take people. They're here to take souls, and turn them into that. But he's the one that solved it, and he opened this gate, and now they come through. Like, this is what Lovecraftian horror is, Larry. Like, there's no real answers to a lot of these questions. Well,
and that's fair.
Once the gates open, they come through, and they're getting whatever's in their path. But they made that guy, like, they were in the first movie. I see them more like good guys because they're actually hurting the fucked up people in this girl's like life, and they're teaching her about suffering through what they call it, suffering through ecstasy, I guess. And it's this weird sadomasochistic torture rituals that they do,
right?
Rip these souls apart and turn them into Cenobites. And this new movie didn't have that like dynamic. Like, you still have the douchebag, and it turns out the douchebag is behind it all, and he's not made nearly as. You see her suffering adjacently just from these circumstances and her bad decisions, but not suffering how she should deserve because she did fuck up and open this box. Yeah.
Okay.
And she's not entirely innocent either, so it's not like,
But so like, if I'm understanding what you're saying, from the perspective that you have, you're like the cube is basically almost like Pandora's box. And so it's like, if you start opening it in any way, shape, or form, then you're the one that's like responsible, and you should suffer.
Right.
Now, a little bit of spoilers here for those that haven't watched this movie yet, but it's been out for at least a month or so now, right? So
almost a month.
Yeah. Like, is there any consideration from your perspective in the idea that it's not like she was trying to open it up? Like, it literally was somebody else that like set her on that path.
She came to that from her own decisions of doing things that were nefarious, like that. The actual solving of that configuration isn't the deed. The deed was in her heart. She wanted to do something twisted and something bad. You know what I mean?
But did she want to, or did somebody present her with a choice,
and that's
knowing she was in a hard situation?
That's where this kind of gets into the allegorical, philosophical of Hellraiser too, where it's like, this is kind of like Eve and the snake. It's like somebody presented her the fruit and she took it and she sinned. How much of a fault does she have over the snake? That's a whole philosophical thing, and that's a whole thing in that's valid here too. Your question is totally valid here. But again, from comparing this as the reboot, the kickstart of a new Hellraiser era, and comparing it to the first Hellraiser movie, this is what happened in this new one, and I didn't like, because I like in the original. I mean, we can't do the school at the Parthenon with this, because it is Hellraiser does have like I'm pretty sure there's like the Tao of Hellraiser you know, at Walden Books if they're still around. But
No.
there's all
No,
that,
they're not.
you
They
know,
are.
there you can like
Walden?
Hellraiser has a lot of philosophical like dichotomies that you can see it different ways because
Got
part
it.
of it is also like just a allegory for like sadomasochism and guilt, you know.
Right.
As you get to other movies, you get that, originally you get to that, and even here, like, they had the gay couple, and the gay guy gets fucking, he gets the raw end of the deal, and he had nothing to do wrong other than to turn his sister away, you know.
Right. Right.
Yeah, so,
Well, look, or look, if you even want to call that wrong, but I feel you.
I mean, like that's like, yeah. Again, it's like depending on how you see it. Like if you're the brother that's getting kicked out or the family member that's getting kicked out, you see it as unfair. But it's really like, should he have suffered instead of her? Yeah.
No,
So,
I hear that.
We have a philosophical conversation about that morality in Hellraiser, like that. Look,
Right.
I might submit that to Harvard for my doctorate.
There it is. Look, Dr. Magnum.
I call it Dr.
Jay,
Mo.
have you Dr. Mo?
Yeah, just so I can sound like a Bond villain.
I can't get a doctorate because I'd be Dr. Oz.
That's hilarious. You're right. He ruined it for you. You're right. He ruined it for you. Jay, have you seen the original Hellraiser?
Yes. I saw the original
Okay.
Hellraiser, and I know about Hellraiser 2.
Okay. So how did you feel about this movie, generally speaking, and then also how'd you feel about it in relation to the original Hellraiser?
I don't have Hulu, and they don't sell it on Amazon.
That's fair, Jay. Did you not? So you didn't get to see Hellraiser?
No.
No, I'm sorry, friend.
I fucked up too because
You're fine.
I fired half my workforce and I didn't get to give Joe a
There it is. So, Jay, just based on what you heard, how do you feel about what you heard in comparison to what you remember from the original?
I don't know. I just keep thinking about part 2, where basically this doctor has this like autistic patient, and the patient's good at puzzles, so the doctor gives her the puzzle box to open because he doesn't want to make the sacrifice. And when Pinhead comes, he's like, "Fuck you. She did the box, but you're the one that wanted us here, so we're gonna take you."
Well, in this one, it takes like 7 sacrifices, 6, 7, something like that.
Yeah.
Like you solve for one, and then whoever it stabs is the sacrifice, and then you solve for the next one. And then if you get all the way to the end, Eternity shows up and you make a wish.
Wait, Eternity? Nice. Wait, and is that something new with this new iteration?
Yeah, the original you solve the box and the Cenobites show up like, "Hey, what's going on? Let's have a party."
But it might be a book thing where,
and I haven't read the books. So.
Yeah, I haven't either. I read through some and I read some comics, so there's room for that in that if I missed it, you know.
So you feel like it potentially the books do have the configurations, and that's something that hasn't been included in the movies until now?
They do with the configurations in this movie makes a little bit more sense as to why somebody would want to make the sacrifices and solve it to get to that last one and make their wish.
Mm-hmm.
Also, I didn't watch movies past like 4. Like Hellraiser.
I mean, 4. Isn't 4 enough?
Funnily enough,
you watched 8 or 13?
I believe, with the exception of the last one to come out before this remake, I believe, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, but none of the movies after 4 actually started out as Hellraiser movies. There were scripts for different movies, and the studio turned them into Hellraiser in order to hold on to the license.
Sheesh. That sounds like a bunch of bad movies.
Most Hellraiser fans agree that
And
after that 4, well, a lot of them aren't really great, like on 4 either, but
Look,
definitely
even
after 4, people are like,
no, like 3 and 4, like that's where it kind of started getting wonky, and it's like really like 1 and 2 are really just the good movies, you know. And they're like, Larry, you would like those because they're not really about torture porny like that. Like it's a little bit about tension, but it's not even. It's that tension is more like teasing, not like tension like you get in horror movies. And they're actually pretty good stories.
So I would like 1 and 2. You're saying?
Yeah, because they don't deal with the jump scares a lot. Like maybe you have like 1, maybe 2 per movie, you know. And it's the visuals is a big part, and that's where I think like this that's where I feel like this movie kind of failed because they tried to make, you know, the other one they were like leather clad people in like dominatrix outfits with like some deformity in the head, and that was a practical effect. And now they did a whole thing where it's like, oh, her trench coat is actually her skin flapped over, and it just look wonky because they're just showing it to you in like good lighting, which you would think is like if you see something terrifying in good lighting, you know, it could give you a terrifying effect, but it just
looked
too long.
It looked plasticky. When you got close,
it didn't look like skin.
No, and I can attest to that in the sense that I definitely agree that, you know, I understood that what they were trying to go for was a body horror thing, and I do agree that it didn't quite hit the mark.
I didn't like
at the same time, huh?
I didn't like that all the pins had pearls at the end of them, and
I hate that.
They look cute. Like the original Hellraiser looks like he practically has nails.
It's almost nails, yeah.
And these are all like cute and dainty, and like
like even
and they all had it, not just Pinhead. They all the pins
and the effect of it going in the skin, like actually the pearl makes it feel more gentle, like it's going in gently.
Well, I will say that I was watching this joint like, man, I don't understand why y'all like this. Like, just because, like, there was definitely a bit of a torture porn aspect to this movie. At the same time, I definitely could see and understand that, okay, like, this is probably not like the epitome of that.
Yeah.
Just because there were scenes where I'm like, okay, I don't like watching this, but I can. You know? And I know that there are other things in the past where it's like, I don't like watching this and I can't. And that's a big difference. You know what I'm saying? Where I'm just like, dude, like, I'm done. And I don't know that I ever felt that in this movie. And especially like, you know, when you mentioned Oz, things look plasticky. I was like, yeah, like some of these things, like they just, I get that that's supposed to be like a flap of skin folded over, but it doesn't look like that, or it doesn't look like it enough for me to be like turned off by it. So I don't know. I'm not knocking it, I guess, honest, like I'm knocking it for the horror or the gore aspect, but not for my own personal, like, you know, I'm not like, oh, because I don't want to see something that actually looks like folded skin, personally. But it's a horror movie.
What about the story itself? Like, how'd you feel about that?
You know, I only thought it was okay. Like, there's some aspects of it that I did enjoy, just because I was like, oh, like, okay, like at least it is a narrative, which is something that I can't say for a lot of horror movies. A lot of the horror movies I watch, I kind of feel like this is just people getting killed. Like there's no like, there is a story, but the story
really
isn't.
Watching.
Huh?
That's because you're not really watching.
No, I don't think so. I think, I mean, don't get me wrong. There's tension.
Judging by the way you reviewed Creepshow, the comic, I can tell you're not actually watching these horror movies.
What? Creepshow the comic? Like, I literally read Creepshow the comic.
Right. And you said it had a good story.
And what's wrong with that?
I'm saying the stories were basic.
I mean, but most stories are basic, Jay. Like, there's only like 7 stories.
Yeah. But I'm saying these horror movies do these stories that are more intricate and complex, and there's a lot more there than just kid steals candy and gets killed. Like, and you're like, oh, that's a great story. Kid steals candy and get killed. But these movies, you're like, no, they don't have stories. It's like, they do.
No, but here's the thing.
They do have stories.
Kid steals candy and gets killed isn't the whole story. It's not like that's the basic story, but it's more about the execution of that story, which is the thing where it's like to take a story that basic and make it interesting and also feel like it has like weight to it is a skill. Now, a lot of these horror stories, they'll take a story that's that basic and they'll flub the story. Like, they don't execute the basic story well. And I don't know that I would necessarily say that. I don't know if I would put Hellraiser necessarily in that camp. But at the same time, it's just like there's no deeper meaning, it feels like to me, of what's happening in this story. But it feels like it could have been. And maybe there's some of it that I'm missing because, maybe I'm not up on, like, I know, like, for instance, the ending of this movie, I felt like had some significance that was lost on me.
Yeah.
Because I don't know anything about Hellraiser.
Like,
the ending.
I mean, you must not have been paying attention.
Why was I not paying it?
Okay, so we know what the rich guy. Wait, are we talking about what happens with the rich guy or what happens with the girl?
Yeah, what happens with the rich guy?
You know why the rich guy was put in that contraption, right?
When you say the contraption, you're talking about
the thing in his chest. The thing in his chest.
Right.
You know what his wish was, right?
Yes.
Okay, and it's kind of it's in back to there's 7 stories. It's kind of like a monkey's paw type of thing where you get a wish based on the configurations. He wished for sensation, thinking he would feel pleasure.
Right.
Well, to a Cenobite, pain is a source of pleasure. So
I understood that.
So she takes that away and gives him power, but it's not like it doesn't make him like a powerful person. She tells him, you have the power to give other people this sensation, to control this aspect of us. And so he becomes a Cenobite, which means now whenever somebody's playing with the cube, he's going to be the one showing up and giving the person the pain as they slowly die.
So
because that's his power.
Other one?
What do you mean other one?
Like when you look at a credit roll, there's normally lead Cenobite, which is Pinhead, and other one, which is
it's the origin. It's the origin of another one.
He becomes a Cenobite at the end. Yeah. Like he's just made. But there's one. Yeah, because there's like 5 or 6 different Cenobites aside from Pinhead that show up. And I think they kill one.
Yeah, they killed the Chatterbox in this one.
Or just the guy with the teeth.
Yeah.
Yeah,
his design was actually pretty good here. In the original, he was like different. He kind of looked like Shadow King in Legion.
Yeah, so I thought the story was interesting in that aspect of the different configurations would and why you're encouraged to solve the whole thing, and the whole fact that when you solve one, if you don't know that knife is popping out, like then that's it. You're not getting any further because once you're cut, you're done. You know, it goes to the next person, and you know, I guess the rich guy knew about him, and the girl got lucky, and they were able to get other people to be the sacrifices. So I like that aspect of the story. I thought that was interesting. I don't think it was scary. Like I wouldn't even call it a horror. It's
body horror at the very least.
Yeah, I mean, people are getting killed, but it's not. I never had that tense, scared moment.
It would be cosmic horror if you didn't get so many answers in this movie. You know, like if there was a little more supposition and confusion onto what's going on or why these things are happening this way, you'd get, you know, it'd be more horrifying. Kind of like like Alien and Prometheus. Like you get the explanation, all of a sudden Alien 1's not as scary. Yeah.
But it did after it was over, which what surprised me was how much time I spent like trying to figure out what the other configurations drawback would be. Like if you chose knowledge, you know, would you get all the knowledge of the universe, but you'd be like vegetative or something, like it's too much for your brain to handle. Like I was trying to figure that out for each configuration, and for a movie to do that, there had to be something there with the story.
Yeah, it's fun when you can do that.
Yeah, I mean, I would agree. Like there was definitely something there. Like I didn't come away from it feeling like, oh man, I wasted my time.
So are you gonna go back and watch the original?
No.
Why not?
I think the original is a lot more tame. Yeah, I think you should watch the original, Larry, because the scary stuff in this one is a lot more prominent than in the first one. In the first one, it's really the story about the people and the consequence, but it's not.
And the effects are really good.
Yeah.
Yeah, I remember being more scared at the original, but I was also a lot younger.
And it was a scary that it wasn't like, oh, my adrenaline just made me jump. It was more like, why am I watching this guy just talk so normally without any skin?
Yeah, I don't know. Not like
you have to for the show.
This didn't do enough for me.
Either that or The Lonesome Death of Jordy Verrill.
I don't even know
like
what that is.
Listen,
both. Fuck
it just sounds like some messed up gay stuff.
Extra
yeah,
credit.
that's the thing. That's the thing Mo was telling you to watch. Like you should watch it.
We tell him to watch a lot of things.
That was the segment of Creep Show starring Stephen King.
Oh yeah.
He's
seen that though.
You have?
You watched the first Creep Show, right?
Maybe.
I don't think so.
Leslie Nielsen and Ted Danson.
Dude, that is so good.
Yeah. When when you actually read the 1983 Creep Show comic and you read that story, it just, that movie is like comic accurate. Only they really make them comic movie accurate, but it just looks so good. It's like, man, if this came out before the movie, it would be like the best comic book movie ever.
But the Stephen King segment is like really funny.
Yeah. And it's
Stephen
like, I mean,
King is like, he really likes to go overboard with his acting.
Yeah.
And that just makes it even funnier.
He likes quirky characters, so he likes being the quirky character.
Yeah.
Got it.
You should watch it.
Yeah, I mean,
it's like it's like the least scary.
Yeah,
one. Like it's less scary than The Color of Night.
Color Out of Space.
Yes, that would be the one I was talking about.
And you watched that already with Nick Cage, so
yeah.
Okay, look, we'll see. It's maybe the best answer I could give.
You're watching.
I don't know.
Watching it.
Oh, jeez. But what I will say,
AMC Plus password.
is, I don't know. Like, I don't know if I felt like I got enough from this movie to feel like, oh, I should mess around and watch the other ones. But I
Would you
don't
read
know.
the comic?
Yeah, sure. I read a comic.
Would you watch the SNL sketch?
Sure. I watched
I mean,
that sketch.
you already watched the Rick and Morty episode, so
I'm sure I did.
you
It's got
saw
David Spade in it.
the
I just
Rick and Morty
listen,
episode.
No, the
I'm sure
SNL
I've seen the Rick
sketch.
and Morty episode. I just don't remember because maybe I don't, I didn't have as deep of a
How can you forget that?
razor.
Well, they were wearing the leather outfits too.
Yeah.
Okay. I'm not saying you're wrong. I'm just saying it's not coming to mind off the top.
Where Rick had like a swordfish coming out of his chest,
Yes.
and he's in that's the Hellraiser.
Got
episode.
it. And that's like in conjunction to what happened with the guy in this thing.
Yes.
Okay.
You're just gonna have to watch more Hellraiser stuff to find out.
Yeah, I guess so. I tell you. Okay. Oz, you watched it though, right?
Yeah, I just talked about it for like 10 minutes.
I heard, right. I remember that, but that doesn't mean anything. You've talked about things for 10 minutes before too that you haven't watched.
And so you should know not to question me.
So,
because you're either gonna be wrong or prove me, or like my story falls apart. Like either way.
so, like, do you feel as though that this is a worthy, I guess, reboot is the right word, right? This is like a rebooting of the franchise.
I think I'd have to watch the original again because I remember the original scared me more. But like I said before, I was a lot younger when I watched that. So
right.
But
like, let me put it like this: if they made a sequel, would you be like, "Oh, I should watch that"?
Probably, just because I really want to know the other configurations and what they do if they make a sequel based on this movie. So yeah, I'd especially if it's free. I mean, if it's on Hulu, I already got a Hulu, so it's gonna cost me a couple hours of my time where I'm probably not even doing anything anyway.
Right. What about you, Mo? I mean, like, it sounded to me like you don't like this as much in relation to the originals.
Definitely not as much as the first one. And the second one, Larry, you should definitely watch the second one too, because that's a little more fantasy. Like if you watch Labyrinth or Dark Crystal, like you can handle the second one. And it's not to say that it's like loses its edge. It just refines that edge of what it is. Like the story is not like Labyrinth, but it's that more fantastical feel to it because they're really just interdimensional demons. They're not like devils. They're not malicious. They're malicious in your interpretation of pain and pleasure.
Right?
But it's not. They're just hedonists. It just happens that
Yeah, they're doing you a favor. They're like showing you the limits of pleasure,
the limits of consciousness, like altered consciousness through pain. Like they, instead of shaking your hand, they'll just screw a screw into your pee hole. That's all.
Makes sense. No, but I feel like definitely comes across in this movie.
This one, they try to do it more like a modern, horror movie. I think it's more about the team making it. Like if you would have had maybe like a Mike Flanagan do it, like a Hellraiser anthology show or something kind of along the lines of an American Horror Story, like you would get something really good. Here it's they felt the need to make a female Pinhead, and it's not even a detriment to it. Like it's fine, and she was great, but they still gave her a male voice. So it's like it's
what
kind
was about
of
her voice that made it male?
It was just modulated. She didn't have, when Doug Bradley talks as Pinhead, it's Pinhead's voice. And then this one, they're trying to do she wasn't even trying to do like a Doug Bradley impression. They just add like a Doug Bradley voice filter to her. So it's more about the body performance, which was great too. Like she definitely personified Pinhead, but
Yeah.
the sound design on it wasn't as great as the original. Maybe they needed sound design as opposed to the original, and it's kind of it's just one of those things like this is the type of movie you make nowadays, and even like the protagonist, like she in older Hellraiser movies, she would have been punished, like she'd be the MacGuffin. Yeah. And then here she's the hero, and it's like there's nothing really, from my perspective, there's nothing real redeeming from her aside from her willingness to try to better herself and struggling to be on the straight and narrow. But she's still like, she was easy to make the bad decisions. So
Yeah.
the little Hellraiser morality like barometer that I have is like, yeah, she should have been punished too, and maybe life itself is suffering. But if that was
Yeah.
if that was the true like aspect of Hellraiser lore, then we'd all be Cenobites.
Interesting, because I mean, I wouldn't have called her a hero, but I
Yeah.
get where you're coming from, because I mean, yeah, like she's definitely like the protagonist without question, and they definitely paint
It's not 2 hours
like
yet, Jay.
He's taking
Oh.
his shit.
Oh, okay. I thought, like that means he owes us 2 minutes after the 2 hours. However long it takes to take shit.
But like I definitely agree where she's the protagonist, and they definitely try to paint her in as good of a light, I guess, as they can. Like she's definitely not the bad guy of the flick, and it sounds like in the original, based on what you were saying, like the protagonist of the movie is just like a terrible person that
Yeah.
gets everything that is coming to him.
Yeah.
So, yeah, that's definitely a difference. Yeah. Yeah. So, well, okay. Should we rate Hellraiser? Y'all ready?
I'm ready.
Okay. Oz, what would you rate Hellraiser 2022?
I'm gonna go with 3 just because I didn't have to pay for it. It's I already have Hulu and it's there, and I watched it. Story was fine. It had me thinking, so that's a plus for it. It's just visually, the plasticky look kind of was a little bit of a turn off, and it wasn't scary, which is kind of what I was expecting. I was expecting a horror movie. So yeah, it's worth watching. I definitely, if you have Hulu already, go watch it. If you don't have Hulu, it's not worth getting Hulu for this, but there's other stuff you can watch.
Yeah, you can watch Reboot.
Right. There it is.
Is Reboot good? Oh, we'll get that later. Sorry.
Huh?
I was going to ask about Reboot, but go ahead.
Oh yeah, it's amazing. Yeah. I would give it 5. No, I'm sorry, not 5. 3.5 goats out of 5.
I was wondering if you had half a goat.
Yeah.
That's fair.
I did enjoy some of it, and I enjoyed other little less aspects about it. And as much as I get curious about how Cenobites are, and I remember at some point I knew like all their origin stories, like even like the dog one, but it's not, I don't know them off the top of my head now. So like, but yeah, I had to scour that through like comics and books and little sources, like little Bibles, Hellraiser Bibles that were probably not even official. Yeah. But this one I felt like answered a little too much, so it didn't give that little sense of like fear of the unknown with this was missing, as opposed to like the first 2 Hellraiser movies, which are like the best ones to me still. But I was excited to watch it. Yeah, 3 out of 5, 3.5 out of 5 for me.
Got it. I think I give it 2.5, just because, it's like it wasn't terrible, but it's not my thing. And I think that's what it boils down to, where it's like, like body horror and seeing people suffer, like that's not a good time for me. So.
2.5 is practically a perfect score for you for a horror movie.
Yeah, you're probably right. Yeah, like, and I mean,
because
there was a story.
You watched it to the end, right?
Yeah, I did.
That's an accomplishment right there.
Yeah, but at the same time, that might be a detriment to the horror movie. Like, if I can watch it to the end, then most of you all probably don't. Like, if you're like, oh, I'm a horror fan, if I can watch it to the end, then that means that
it takes 1 point away from the horror.
In the name of science, we have to see how long you last at things. Like Jay said, you got to watch that thing for next week. The Creep Show segment with Stephen King. You got to watch Hellraiser 1, and then you got to watch Terrifier. That's the Control. Like how much longer?
That movie that has people throwing up and like
but that's two. I don't need you to watch part 2. I need you to watch part 1.
Oh, that's the new one that's doing that.
Yeah, that's the one I executively produced on Kickstarter.
I'm not trying to watch any movie that's making horror fans pass out.
No, but it's
not true. Go into like cardiac arrest.
No, that's all shtick. That's all like,
Is it?
Yeah, that shit ain't real.
How do you know?
I know, like, I watched Terrifier 1, and then it took me 2 tries to watch it, because there was a moment in the first one where I just had to turn it off. But, yeah. So, and then I just need to see if Larry, like, you would turn it off. Like, if you turn it off where I would turn it off, then I know, like,
I'm gonna turn off before you turned it off.
Well, but you can't judge art on hypothetical like that. You have to experience it. So I have to see.
I don't think I do.
Yeah, we do.
I feel very confident
for science. So we
listen. Listen. I already got you. I've turned it off already. I've pre-turned it off.
He turned it off after the previews. He was done.
I've turned off no preview. I don't need to see a preview of a movie that made Mo stop watching.
No. The previews before the actual.
I was watching at work.
Oh,
that's another part. But it was definitely like, I'm an adult, a self-respecting adult. Look, I don't need to watch.
Right. No, listen. And you know me, I've been a self-respecting adult since I was like 14. So I'm good. I don't need to watch any of that. I'm like, nah.
Jay, did you watch Terrifier?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah,
did you
I don't remember it 100%. No, I didn't turn it off at any point.
Okay.
It was rough.
Yeah.
Like, it was a little rough, but I was expecting it.
Joe's like, not enough kid killing.
Dude, I will tell you, I was watching this one movie and I swear, I feel like it's been forever that I rooted for a kid to actually live. And it's like, man, it was crazy because the chick was like a super cool character. And she's a kid, and I'm like, she got stabbed, and I'm like, oh my God, like, please live. Like, don't close your eyes. And when she asked for a Band-Aid, I was like, oh shit. Like, please survive.
A stab wound?
Yeah.
That sounds
familiar. So she's like a little kid.
Yeah, like a little kid. Like,
damn, that's messed up, Jay. I don't know what you're watching, but you should stop it.
It was like, I wanted her to live. Like, I was like, man, like, it just feels like it's been a long time for me that I rooted for a kid to like make it.
She's all here stabbed up. She's like, I just need my blankie. It's like, damn it. Give that baby her blankie so she can die in peace. What are y'all watching? Why are y'all watching this?
You definitely should watch that movie.
What is it? Tell us so we can watch it.
It's called The Innocents. And it's basically there's this apartment complex and the kids there are like developing superpowers. And they're just kind of, basically they're dealing with that. And one of the kids has like a bad home life. So he goes evil and starts like fighting with the other ones. It's really good. Like,
All right, so next week we're watching that. Larry's gonna give you his take on Terrifier and Hellraiser 1 and Housing Complex
Listen,
C.
yeah, like that's like 4 horror movies. Like, I can't do that. I can't do
Like,
that.
just watch it. Like, honestly, with Hellraiser 1 and Terrifier, and then the Stephen King one, you just have to watch as much as you can take.
I'm good, man. I'm
you
like
should be
I'm
able to do
protecting.
Housing Complex C, though. That's animated.
I'm out here trying to protect my mental health.
Are you, Lawrence? Are you reading I Am Batman?
I was. Is I Am Batman still going on right now?
I think so. The last issue I got was issue 13.
Okay, so
did you get to the point where he goes to New York?
Yes.
Like, okay, those books started getting gory too, right?
A little. I mean, definitely gorier than they were.
Okay.
Yes.
Yeah,
I definitely give you that.
I read like a couple of them today. I'm like, this is a panel of a man taken apart into pieces and made into a piece of art. Like, that's This is okay.
Yeah.
It's perfect for the Halloween season, but this was like issue 7 or 8 or 9 or so. So it was like 4 or 5 months ago.
It was not Halloween.
Sounds like like scene in Hellraiser 1.
Yeah, it did kind of. I can go get the books.
I don't remember who the artist is.
Nope, I already put them away.
It's Travel Form.
I think you're right.
I Am Batman.
Oh, is it really?
Yeah.
Like,
no, I think you're right. Actually,
when you imagine, like, the picture, the way I envisioned in my head was Travel Form and art doing that, like chopping up a person and making it a piece of art. It just gave me those Animal Man vibes from New 52.
No, I feel like you could be right. Hold on, I'm trying to
Christian Douche.
Okay.
Whoa. Let's see. I mean, it's probably not one artist throughout all of the issues, but
yeah. So the villain is like a guy who kills corrupt people in power and makes their body parts into art. Yeah, well, around the time this starts happening, it is Christian Douche, because I looked them up for 8 and then 10. I think the last issue I read was actually issue 10.
Yeah.
So
Christian Douche.
Okay. I'm unfamiliar with him.
Yeah.
He does a decent job, and that's the when person of color DUCE. When person of color Batman goes to New York, it gets
person of color Batman.
That's when it starts to really get good to me. I guess it's an impromptu review, because then he
Joe's got to leave at the 2-hour mark, right?
Yeah, he's fine. And mostly because I like the whole magistrate stuff in Gotham was like, it's just stupid. I was tired of that already.
Yeah.
But him in New York, like, you see more vulnerabilities with him. There's one point where he runs away from a fight, and he's like, I don't know why I did that. Like, that's messed up. I don't know if I should be Batman because I did that. And
right.
So the character gets more interesting when he's in New York. All right, sorry, what were we talking about?
I think we finished our review, and we're gonna go into stuff of nightmares. So scary comic reviews.
All right, hit the music or whatever we're hitting.
No, the same music that we played for.
There it is. Okay. So the stuff of nightmares. Jay, you want to tell us about Stuff of Nightmares and what it's about?
So the Stuff of Nightmares is about a down on her luck reporter hanging out with their boyfriend, trying to get out of the office and wait for inspiration. when she hears howls, like these screaming howls, and it's not wolves or coyotes, and it might be children. And so she goes to investigate, and she comes across two brothers and their friend. I don't know their relationship. She's just kind of there. They don't actually say what her relationship is.
Mhm.
And they find out, if we're not doing spoilers, they find out what's making the noise,
Mhm.
and they investigate and report on the noise.
Yeah, I mean that pretty much sums it up. So,
What
yeah,
was the thing's
like
name? Frankie? Frank? Something like that?
We weren't spoiling that.
The
I
thing
think it
making
was
the
Frank.
noise. Something was making a noise, and they called it Frank. It was a hot dog that
But
became
it wasn't
sentient.
Frank. It wasn't Frankie making the noise. It was the other things.
Oh, I thought it was Frank. Oh, you know what? That's
No,
probably
it
what
wasn't. All he says is
Yeah.
help me.
Well, then, see, I didn't actually spoil it till you confirmed that.
the wild part was like how the reporters like the little thing pops his head out like help me. The reporter's like, what's that creature? I'm like, wait, I'm like, like my man literally just spoke. Like, why are we calling it a creature? Like, what is that creature? I was like, damn.
It might have been one of those
Definitely.
things where R.L. Stein like designed it to be like a weird shape, like just something that wasn't resemble a little boy, you know?
Right, but the artist drew it like a little boy.
Yeah.
Except
Maybe.
it didn't really look like a boy to me.
No,
Like,
well, yeah.
it was deformed
Yeah.
and lacking genitalia. Like, it looks like a homunculus.
Right.
And if you see a homunculus, you would not be remiss in saying, what the hell is that?
I mean, but are you gonna call like if something spoke to you? Would you call it a creature?
Yeah.
Yeah, if it looked like that, like, what the hell is that
Man.
creature?
I don't know. Like maybe,
it'd be easier for a creature to talk than for a person to look like that.
Now, if
You're just creature phobic.
who me?
Yeah.
How am I creature phobic?
You're assuming creatures can't talk? That's your ignorance speaking.
It's not. Listen, I'm not.
well,
I'm not.
his deep right wing religious beliefs would tell him that it's probably a demon anyway. He should kill it.
I'm not saying
Dude,
creatures can't
is
speak.
anyone
What I'm saying
watching
is,
Little Demon?
I haven't
No.
continued with it.
I don't even
Man.
know. Did I open a can of worms? I didn't even. What was
No,
happening?
because
Always.
they deal with that stuff in there too, and it.
So
So
you said demon, and it just, man, that show is amazing. Like, if you're not watching that, you should.
That's a
how did
sitcom.
you feel from the first episode to the second?
Oh, I loved it.
Like the
Like-
second was better than the first? 'Cause
Yeah.
You like the first? Okay. I enjoyed the first, but not enough to keep. But now that you say it, okay.
Oh, it's
Next
a
week,
cartoon.
The only issue I had an issue with the 6.
Larry will talk about Hellraiser, that segment in Creep Show, and Terrifier, and then we're gonna talk about Little Demon and that other thing.
in the meantime, back to stuff of friggin' nightmares. But I'm more than anything. I'm just saying, if somebody, if no matter what it is, if it speaks to you, maybe refrain from calling it a creature.
No,
Like if it speaks your language.
It's fine.
no, if you're a creature, you're a creature.
Yeah.
Like
I knew a
they
guy
are
that
proud of themselves, and why are you trying to diminish that and take that away from them?
in his wedding vows called his wife to be a beautiful creature.
That's a different thing.
I don't know. It doesn't that different. I had to say, why you calling her a creature?
Call her a creature. She speaks English. Okay, maybe it's not English. She speaks your language.
Jay, how did you like the story? I mean, I know you're kind of somewhat an R.L. Stein fan to a certain degree, as we all, growing up in a certain era.
Honestly, I didn't actually get into R.L. Stein.
No?
In fact,
You might be too old, huh?
the first R.L. Stein I actually got into was Fear Street.
Right.
I mean, the adaptation that just came out like not too long ago. Like, I watched those movies, but I had never seen the books. I never really watched Goosebumps or read those. Like, I like him, like the idea of a guy doing horror for young adult or tween horror was cool. But I've never actually gotten into any of his stuff. Like, I think I wanted to see one of the movies, but I don't think I ended up doing it.
Okay. So, but what'd you think of the comic?
I don't know. It was cromulent.
I don't know.
It was what?
Sorry.
Cromulent. It means adequate.
Cromulent? Okay.
Yeah.
Wow.
Like it was fine. Like there was nothing how do I say this? Like it wasn't great, but it wasn't bad. Like I didn't have a bad time reading it. And like there are definitely things that I've read recently. Like I've been reading a lot of horror comics lately. And there are some that I read and I was like, oh man, I didn't have to read that. And this wasn't one of them. So like I didn't feel that way about this. And I probably am going to get part 2 next week.
And that's another dynamic that I wanted to bring up too, where it's like it feels like it's set up almost like a anthology horror comic, but it never gives you another story. It just has to be continued, but it still has the bookend transitions.
Mm-hmm.
How'd you feel about that? Like, were you taken aback from it not being an anthology comic, even though it was kind of presented like one?
No, I'm used to that.
Okay.
Like, just bookends in general. I feel like I want to go off on a small tangent, but
no, you got like 8 minutes left, so
right.
Yeah, and you still have to tell me if you told Gary Dugan about my video or not.
I didn't. No, I don't remember your video.
Well, it's been nice having you.
Why? Yeah. We wish you well on your future endeavors. Why do you have to hurt me like that, Jay?
No, I'm sorry.
No, it's okay. I barely
want you to feel the extent of your consciousness.
Yeah. That's a true suffering for me.
Cromulent started in The Simpsons, by the way.
Yeah, that's where the word got popped.
I think it's the same episode as in Biggins.
Yeah. And Biggins is a perfectly cromulent word.
But he's right. It is a Merriam-Webster defined word now.
I don't care what that little dude says.
He's dead now,
But
so no one cares.
If I could get back to the stuff of nightmares, really generic title. Like, man, it's so hard. I'm lucky I found R.L. Stein. Because there was like a lot of options when you type in the stuff of nightmares.
Yeah.
But one thing I did enjoy is the artwork. Like, not on a visual level. Like, I didn't like looking at it, but I enjoyed how well it fit the tone of the story. Like, the art is very atmospheric, and it really harkens back to like the old Creature mags and like the EC comics. Like it looks like a modern spin on the old EC comics, and it really works for the story they're telling. Yeah, that I enjoy. Like, I don't like looking at it particularly, but I do enjoy how well it fits the tone of the story.
How about in the bookends? Like, how'd you like that art? Because I believe it was different, but did you get any of the Mike Mignola vibes in it?
I did not get Mike Mignola vibes. Okay, so I thought it was fine, but I couldn't help comparing it to another book I was reading, which does the same thing. You know, they introduced the segment, and it was like, oh, it's like not as much as the other one I read, but it's not bad. Like, I like the black speech bubble is pretty cool. The background is like very busy, but well filled. And yeah, I did enjoy those.
So, go ahead, Mo.
I was going to ask him for a rating. What would you rate it out of 5? Like, how many goat screams out of 5?
I would give it 3. Like, it's right there on the I can keep reading this line.
Okay. Well, there it is. Jay, are you dipping out like at the 2-hour mark? Do you want to give some final thoughts before you go?
I forgot what my final thoughts were gonna be. Like, they were gonna be awesome. Like, I remember that much. Like, they were just gonna be like fucking like show-ending final thoughts, but I don't remember. So
Should we watch Chucky
I think
season?
we're all worse off for that. I need to start writing stuff down, like just carrying stuff with pen and paper. Like,
You got a big white wall behind you. You could just get a marker and just...
I would do that, but I do want my deposit back when I leave. Also, I can't have this too full of. Well, we'll see.
Try
Maybe
erase,
like a fathead or something.
You should get a fat head of yourself, so it really is a cutout.
That wouldn't get up. We won't even miss you, Jay. You'll be like, oh, there he is. Just gotta line it up.
You know what I should do is just put my keyboard back there.
Yeah,
That would be dope.
Like hang it on the wall?
Yeah.
Okay. I'm not mad at that.
and you could play little by little, like
tickle the ivories while you're talking comics.
Yeah. All right, Jay. I guess we get you. You can stick around for a little bit. Jay, are you watching Chucky season 2 yet?
No, it's not available for purchase on Amazon. So I said, fuck it. I was like, fuck it. I'm not going to watch it until it is. I am watching The Owl House. Their 3rd season just came out, or just started. And I put the first episode of the current season into our Discord. If anyone wants to check that out. I actually did put the first issue of episode of Chucky into our Discord too. I know Lawrence didn't watch it because he's still on season 1.
Right.
But Hey, you said you were going to watch season 1, or did you give
I
up?
did. No, I haven't. I haven't.
What's happening? What am I missing?
He left. He
Oh.
was trying to leave, but he couldn't. He's like clicking and he wouldn't wouldn't hang up.
All right. So, Stuff of Nightmares. Oz, what did you think of the book?
Yeah, it's been a long time since I read R.L. Stein stuff. Definitely when in the 90s when I was a teenager, I was all into the Goosebumps.
Mm-hmm.
And at first, like the first page or two, I thought, okay, so it's a Crypt Keeper, Tales from the Crypt, like rip off type of thing. I was trying to remember if what's the guy's name? What do you call himself?
The Crypt Keeper?
Creepy.
No, in the R.L. Stein one in this comic, he called himself something else.
Oh, the Nightmare
Oh,
Keeper.
Yeah, the Nightmare
the
Keeper. Like I was trying to remember if that's a character from before or whatever, and I thought I was gonna get an anthology like Tales from the Crypt, but then it was just the one story, and not only was it the one story, but I don't know if it's a miniseries or ongoing, but you don't get the end of the story at the end of this book. You gotta get the
Right.
next issue. So I was actually pleasantly surprised by that, especially how the story, I don't want to say ends, but you get to the end of the book and he does come back out and talk a little bit more, but the story's not done. You still got to get the issue 2. So it was surprisingly more interesting than I thought it would be. The story itself was, I can see where they're going with it. I don't want to say it was a great story, but it definitely kept my attention. Like I wanted to know more about the homunculi and other aspects of the story. So yeah, and kept me guessing throughout the thing until they slowly start to reveal more and more of what's happening.
Right. How about you, Mo?
I thought it was a great story in the sense that we didn't get to finish it, but this flow that I got thinking it's gonna be an anthology, like they did a good job in stretching it out because sometimes these anthology stories just go by a little too fast, unless it's like a 60-page special or something. But in this case, it's just like every character kind of had their voice. They had their own vocabulary, the way they talk, and so I think that's one of the things that R.L. Stein brings to comics, and he writes them in a way where he's not dependent on the art for you to know who's talking. And that was the experience I had with his Man Thing comic, and I saw more of it here. And then this is his own creator-owned book too, so I'm like that. That's one of the reasons I really wanted to get it, because it's like, man, he's venturing into comics. Let's fucking let's support him and try it out. And I was pleasantly surprised that the story is good. It's a little more mature than what his his Goosebumps or Fear Street was. So I'm happy to see that. Like I want to see him do his work. In reading. Well, I'm not gonna purport that I read, but in handling those books when I was a kid and growing up and still getting some of his work still and still have it be pretty good. I'm happy for.
Yeah, and I also appreciated the more mature tone. Not that I felt like R.L. Stein couldn't do that, because I know that he can and has, but I just wasn't certain what it was going to be, and so to read it and just be like, oh, okay, yeah, this is like an intriguing story. I liked it. Yeah, and I know you mentioned the art earlier when you were talking to Jay, and I totally see where you're coming from with the Mike Mignola reference. Like, I definitely caught that kind of vibe from it too. But yeah, like when the story ended, I thought it was going to be a complete, like its own complete story in this issue, and when it wasn't, I was like, oh, okay, like I would like to see what happens next. So Yeah, I feel like it did its job.
Yeah, no, it
So
definitely did do its job. And one of the things, the cover was great. Francavilla always does good stuff. You can see it right there in the
yeah.
corner of us here. Um, but there's a glow in the dark cover.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, for those of you who buy physical, and I'm like, dang, there's a glow in the dark cover, and now I'm like, man, now I have to. I wish there was a white cover, and I'm wishing I had the glow in the dark cover too.
Is what color is the glow in the dark cover?
It's kind of the same. The same. I assume it's the same. It's just the green's maybe a little lighter because I think the green in those little what they call mongrels.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's what glows. But I haven't.
Mm,
I just know there is.
got it. Got it. Okay. So, anything else anybody
Uh,
want to say about Stuff of Legends? I mean, Stuff of Legends, Stuff of Nightmares.
Oz, did you get to give your analysis about the book?
I mean, just as far as the story,
Yeah.
really.
How about the art, man? What did you think of the art?
The art was crumulent. No, it was good. It wasn't like amazing, but it was good. It was well done. I don't have any criticisms or complaints about it.
Okay.
Yeah.
So yeah, I definitely for me it's a man damn near a 5 out of 5, but I have to give it a 4 because I don't like the little bait and switch in the anthology thing. I love that genre of horror anthology. They're like, oh,
Right.
it's R.L. Stein and horror anthology. I'm getting 3 R.L. Stein stories, and then I've got one,
Right.
but the one is compelling enough. So yeah, it's like a
Right.
4.90. Yeah.
Was it advertised like an anthology? Like
No, no.
I thought anthology because you get that Crypt Creeper vibe. In the
Yeah,
first
yeah.
page.
Yeah.
That's the only reason I thought it was an anthology. But for me, it was a series that, like, the ad and the solicitation and the press release is R.L. Stein's first like creator-owned series, or something like that. So
Yeah.
like, and then when I open it and it feels like an anthology, I'm like, oh man, I'm getting 3 R.L. Stein stories for in a mature age. Like,
Right.
I was excited, but it was only one. But maybe it'll be one of those things where you do like 2 issue stories each segment.
Yeah. Also, too, I will give props to the whole idea of the Nightmare Keeper. Like, I thought that was a cool character. Like, like just the character design of it was interesting, all the way down to the idea of like he had like the I guess what is it, like the buttons on his collar, but they
Mm-hmm.
kind of look like eyes,
Yeah.
and you don't ever really see the face of the Nightmare Keeper, but you kind of see those little buttons kind of stand out, so it almost gives like a creature-ish kind of vibe to it. And
Yeah.
I'm like, that's pretty cool. Like, I'm just like, that's interesting design work there. And so, which is funny because it's like, we talked about Uncle Creepy, right?
Yeah.
Like, and just like how Uncle Creepy kind of feels like a bit of a knockoff of the Crypt Keeper, even though Uncle Creepy predates the Crypt Keeper, right? And so it's like, it's messed up, but it's like that, yeah, but that's what it feels like. But then I mess around and read this, and I'm like, oh, like this feels like its own character, even though it's obviously modeled after the idea of like your Uncle Creepies and your Crypt Keeper. But this feels like somebody else that's like their own thing, just in that style, and that's I feel like that's worth mentioning.
Okay.
So
No, definitely agree with you with that one.
yeah. So Oz, what would you rate? Stuff of Nightmares?
I'll probably go with 4. It definitely makes you want to pick up the next issue. It's interesting. It's weird.
Yeah.
Like, stuff started happening that I wasn't expecting,
Yeah.
and that's actually kind of rare for stories. 'Cause
Right.
I've been reading
Right.
stories for so long. So yeah,
Right.
R.L. Stein, like, he still got it.
Yep. Yep. I agree with Oz. I'm gonna give it a 4 as well. Like, you know, it just delivers, and it's one of those things where it's like I want to read the next issue, and so, you know, realistically, I probably should give it a 4.5. Actually, yeah, but it's real good. It's real good. So, Stuff of Nightmares. All right, there it is. Tight 210. Oz, why don't you give some final thoughts, buddy?
This weekend, Person of Color Adam comes out. So
Wait, why is he person of color, Adam? Why is it not like African American Adam?
because he's not African either. What? No, it's
He's not
Kandak.
American.
What
Kandak
makes
is
him
in the
not
Middle
African?
East.
He literally is from Africa.
Okay. Well, he's not American. So,
I'll give you that.
you know, going in the middle. Person of Color Adam.
Mos Magnum, final thoughts.
Hey, you know, it might be a Mo deal. You can go to the local Halloween store and get the Creep for $129, a 6-foot replica of the dude from Creep Show. And then there's that. There's also, yeah, I think that's it. That's all I got.
That's fair. For the entire Fantastic Forum, thank you all so much for hanging out with us. We do appreciate you. We will be back next week. In the meantime, go ahead and hit us up on social media. Follow, like, tell us what you like, what you don't like, what you want to hear more of. We'd be more than happy to hear it and take your feedback. Yeah, so until then, we are the Fantastic Forum. Good night.